Hello, I'm Dylan.
I'm Keon.
I'm Brendan.
I'm Nathan.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we're reluctantly famous because this week we listened to Bang Bang a Boom.
Written by Gareth Roberts and Clayton Hickman.
Directed by Nicholas Pegg.
And released in December of 2002.
Yes, so once again we're joined by Brendan and Nathan of Flight Through Entirety.
Yep, thank you again.
Thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure. My God, 2002! This is 15 years old. And once again, I dread to think how old you two were when this was released.
Six. I was 6. I was still in South Africa.
I didn't want to know.
Well,
I was almost 7.
I was about 6.5.
Yeah.
I started university the year this was released, boys.
Really, Brendan?
Yes.
I think I was about 10 years into my current job by then, teaching people older than all of you.
Yes. Haven't some of your students now created semi-successful television series?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, hooray. But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Maybe just a little bit, but... So, yeah, the last time we had you guys on was we had Nathan. This is your third time back because we had you for English Way of Death. But Brendan, this is your second
Also
time back
by
because
Gareth
we
Roberts.
had the
Interesting.
last time Brendan was on, we did Lost of the Gathering.
That was 2 years ago.
That was almost 2
Holy
years
crap.
ago.
Yeah.
Pertwee.
Yeah, that was
my gosh.
Pertwee written. I think it was written by Mark Gatiss.
Mark Gatiss, right?
We were only in the Pertwee era at that
Yes.
point. We hadn't watched. Well, Dylan, you watched the reboot. We hadn't watched anything, or I hadn't watched anything past that of the classic series.
In fact, I remember having to bite my tongue because, Last of the Gathering has kind of what's meant to be the last appearance of the Delgado Master, but you guys... Right, Keanu at least didn't know about that, and so I couldn't say what had actually happened after this.
Yeah.
And
of course, at that point as well, we were ahead of you guys. But since then, we've had several hiatuses, and now you're an era and a half in front of us.
Well, I think it's kind of waxed and waned. I think we were ahead of you for a bit, and then I think we fell behind slightly. You guys went ahead, and then I think we raced ahead when you went on hiatus.
I mean, you guys will catch up depending on how
quickly you cover the era and a half because we didn't go straight into Rose.
Yeah, we're doing 16 weeks of audios, so
this is week 2.
yeah,
wow.
this is week 2.
Week 2 of audios of 16.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so we're going all the way back down to the beginning. So
last week we did Storm
terrific.
Warning,
Yeah, last
which
week
you
we
won't
did-
have heard yet because that hasn't gone out when we're recording this, but it goes out in 2 days.
Right.
and then
that's a very, very good story, though. Storm Warning.
Yes, well, I think we enjoyed it.
We liked it.
I'm a big fan of India Fisher.
Right.
She came to a convention in Australia and was really, really fun to have around. She was really cool.
She was incredibly lovely.
Yeah, it's always good to hear that they're good people.
Yeah, we still haven't met anyone.
Of course, well, we're in SoCal, where the biggest convention sells out like the day the tickets go on sale. Gallifrey 1 is not an hour away and yet impossible to get tickets to.
Well, we have Todd on the podcast, and Todd used to run conventions for the Doctor Who Club of Australia, which means that he literally knows absolutely everyone. And so I think the last time, just listen to me drop these names.
Yeah.
The last time that they were out in Australia, I got to have dinner with Colin Baker, Janet Fielding, and Sylvester McCoy. Janet kissed me on the cheek once, and I haven't ever washed that cheek ever since. And Sylvester played spoons on my chest, and I haven't washed that either since then. So I'm honking, really, at the moment.
Sounds like you're running out of body parts.
Yeah, that's it.
I do remember, I think it was during the Davison retrospective, Richard made a hilarious but off-color joke about Janet Fielding, and Todd said to me, "Could we please cut that out? Because I had lunch with Janet last week, and I won't be able to look her in the eye."
I actually always wondered where Todd knew all these people from, because he always drops the names on the podcast. I'm like, where does he meet all these people? How does he know all these people?
I like Colin, as an actor and as a person. I'm like, wait, what?
He is a really lovely man, and I've been sort of fairly negative about his era on the podcast, and I always feel slightly bad.
He's talking about Colin, not Todd, by the way.
No, Todd's a terrible
Todd's a
Todd's the only one who hasn't appeared on this show, so I mean the correlation there between being a bad person and being on this show is clearly evident.
All right, Dylan.
I'm the nicest one.
Yeah.
On the podcast,
well, that's the thing. We don't let Todd out because our reputation would never recover. He's under my sofa right now, gagged and bound. Shut
up. Well, I suppose we should get into actually trying to explain the story.
Right, and once again, I guess continuing the trend from last week, which hopefully won't continue to be a trend for any more of these audios. I was reading while listening to this, so... but I took good notes. I took good notes.
The dog.
Yeah, I think you were walking.
I try to walk my dog when I listen to it, but sometimes, because I got all these podcasts I got to catch up on.
Catch up on those
Fly Through Entirety's on hiatus, so that's not in the current feed. But
you started Mostly Made Up Doctor Who?
No,
that's pretty good.
Do they make up new Doctor Who ideas?
No, they basically do what we do,
except they make it up.
It's mostly made up.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's far more inaccurate than what we do, which. Yeah. What we do is pretty inaccurate to begin with, or at least we strive for accuracy, but I don't think we ever achieve it.
What? Who said that?
Every time.
So it starts with
an announcer.
A log. Or, does it start
it starts with the announcer saying, now we're going to experience Sylvester McCoy as the Doctor in Bang Bang a Boom. Yeah, and then it gets to the medical log.
I read that... Gareth Roberts was in this. I still don't know what he was, but I thought he was the song contest announcer, but he's not. That's not him. But I still don't know what he is in this. Is he just a little announcement voice at the beginning, or no?
Well, I think that's Nicholas Briggs.
Yeah, okay. The announcement voice at the beginning is old Briggs.
Okay.
Yeah, Gareth's not listed in the credits, but I would imagine maybe he's one of the other musical acts.
Yeah, that would be my guess as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, do you know about the title of this?
It's a reference to...
Yeah, it's a reference to a Lulu song, isn't it?
Yeah. So Lulu, who we just adore and who sang the Bond theme for Man with a Golden Gun and appeared in Absolutely Fabulous, had a massive hit in 1969, which is... the year I was born, and she was the UK entry.
Don't laugh, boys. I'm laughing.
She was the UK entry into the Eurovision Song Contest, and the song was called Boom Bang Bang, which is terribly famous, but also sort of famously nonsensical lyrics that was sent up later by Monty Python and things like that.
Well, not only that, but Eurovision is famous for its nonsensical lyrics, partially due to the fact that a lot of countries choose to sing in English when English isn't their first language. And partially because once a country does it and gets a good score, they know they can get away with it. So there are two songs coming up for Eurovision this year, which I've watched, and just the lyrics are hilariously nonsensical. Like the Netherlands song has the lyrics... we're going to stand in line and walk alone. It's like, no, you have to do one or the other. And there's another song which is channeling Romeo and Juliet, and they sing, we were lost and found in Verona. On the one hand, it sounds like an office in a railway station. But on the other hand, do you want to be singing about how your love is like Verona? Because newsflash, that didn't end so well. But yeah, so that's a famous Eurovision thing of the lyrics. The lyrics are less important than the performative experience.
Yeah, than the makeup and the outfits.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have Eurovision here. There's some legal thing that it can't be broadcast here. We can't access. I mean, you can get it.
We can get it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Listen to
Justin Timberlake performed at it last year as the halftime act.
That's interesting.
Not halftime act.
I was going to say, it's interesting that you have a halftime act that's a song at a competition where you sing songs.
They play a football game.
They play a football game.
I say halftime act. What it is, after all the songs have been performed, there's a voting period which goes for about half an hour, so they need to put lots of stuff in there. So Justin came on and performed Can't Stop the Feeling. Now, the only thing is he was so excited to be there that he forgot to perform about half the song. Like, he was running out into the crowd, getting really excited. He wouldn't sing, and the backup singers would just take over. And I was sitting there thinking, Justin, I'm really happy that you're enjoying yourself, but if I was paying and watch Justin Timberlake not sing, actually, I'd probably still pay for that. But yeah, so I didn't realise about the rights thing. That's interesting. I suppose in Australia it's a much bigger thing because for decades we only had 5 television channels.
And we never really fought a war against England either.
That might play into it.
To be fair, though, most of the countries in Eurovision have fought wars against England.
That's true.
Yeah, is Eurovision like an English? I don't know anything. I barely know anything about it. Is it like an English thing, or
it started in I believe 1956, and it was part of an effort to continue reuniting Europe after the Second World War. And you still have, in the structure of Eurovision, you have what is known as the Big Five. So you have the UK, Russia, Spain, France, and Italy. Sorry, not Russia. You have the UK.
Might be confusing that with the Security Council, the UN.
Sorry. You have the UK, Spain, Germany, Italy, and France.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way it works is those 5 countries all automatically are put through to the final every year. They also they're the only countries who put up money every year along with the host country. So last year, Ukraine won. So it's being hosted in Ukraine this year, and together with the Big Five, Ukraine's bankrolling it. And all 6 of their songs then get put straight into the final. What usually then happens is the country who wins with a great song one year will put in a really terrible song the next year because they can't afford to host it for a second year. And the theory is Ireland constantly put in not necessarily terrible, but just really bland songs, because over a period of, I think, 9 years in the 90s, they hosted it 7 times, and now they're in recession, so make of that what you will. Ireland also attracted controversy at one point because you can only have 6 people on stage. You can have instrumentation playing off stage. There used to be an orchestra, but you can only have 6 people on stage. And Ireland had this act featuring 5 people, and then a puppet came out. And the puppet had 2 operators.
Oh, no.
And Ireland argued that Dustin the turkey only counted as one person. And to top it all off, this isn't even the most insane stuff that's happened at Eurovision. So yes, we now have...
Oh, boy.
Appropriately enough, I think we can probably say at the time Doctor Who's 2 campus writers writing a Eurovision tribute in the form of Doctor Who. But it's also sending up something else. Have either of you guys seen Space 1999?
No. Wow. Some Star Trek, though.
Okay, well... Okay, have you guys heard of the works of Jerry and Sylvia Anderson, like Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, etc., etc.?
I watched that Thunderbirds movie they made recently, the reboot movie. I saw that.
Yeah. Okay. So, in the 60s, Jerry and Sylvia had this run of really successful marionette puppet series. So Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, Joe 90...
that thing with the vicar.
That thing with the vicar. There was this vicar who was a secret agent. But anyway, they were all made with puppets. They then made a series with UFO with live action actors, lots of Doctor Who actors in that. And then following up to that, they made a series called Space 1999, which is about a space base on the moon with a nuclear waste. In 1999.
So set in the distant past, obviously.
And their nuclear fuel waste dump explodes, propelling the moon out of orbit and into space, where they meet aliens like Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and Brian Blessed. Now, amongst the characters on this, you have Dr. Helena Russell. So she's the forerunner for Dr. Eleanor Harcourt in this story.
Okay.
And you also have Professor Victor Bergman, who's this very sort of vague New Age hippie scientist who's the basis for Professor Fassbinder in this story.
And like every season 2 episode, I think, starts with Helena Russell doing a captain's log thing with how many days since
Moonbase Alpha status report, 775 days after leaving Earth.
Yeah, so that's and it sounds exactly like that. Like she's doing the voice, and Graham Garden's doing the Victor voice and everything. So it sounds exactly like that. But obviously, because the space station's called Dark Star 8.
There's a Star Trek connection.
And you can hear the music.
The music in this is amazing. I'm just going to look up who did it, because it really does evoke the Deep Space Nine era. And Deep Space Nine had only been off the air for 2 or 3 years at this point. So I know, right? And then still not putting it on Blu-ray. So the music for this was Andy Harwick and Gareth Jenkins. Incidentally, this Gareth Jenkins is not Gareth Jenkins from A Fix with Sontarans. Okay. But, little jokes in this, like the fact that it's heavily implied that Eleanor Harcourt was only able to keep her job because she was
sleeping with the base commander.
Is because Space 1999, the 2 leads, the base commander was played by
Barbara Bain? No. That would have been good.
Oh, God. I can only remember his character now. Martin Landau was playing base commander, and his wife, Barbara Bain, was the doctor. So in the first year, he's unmarried, she is widowed, and they have this will they won't they thing. In the second year, they bring in the producer of the last season of Star Trek, like when it got a bit shit. Sorry. The last year of Star Trek where it got a bit crap. So they bring him into Space 1999, and so all of a sudden, Martin Landau and Barbara Bain, who are these incredibly emotionally reserved actors, are having this amazing love affair, and every episode, bar one, of the second season ends with this whole Scooby-Doo kind of laugh thing with them flirting awkwardly, like watching your grandparents kiss.
They were actually together. They'd both been in Mission Impossible, the original Mission Impossible. And so they were 2 American actors brought in to this sort of British production. And they're actually the parents of Juliet Landau, who was in Buffy.
Yes, that's right.
Who played Drusilla.
And I think she played a later incarnation of Romana in the audios, if I'm remembering my names correctly.
Yeah, too. Yeah. There you go, another Doctor Who connection.
And, because I love Mary Tam so much, have you heard all those stories where she's playing Romana?
No.
Okay, I won't spoil it for you then, because after Mary Tam passed away, there was a very clever way that they still did a 3 Romanas story. In a story called Luna Romana. So that features Mary, Lala, and Juliet Landau.
Wow.
We'll get to it eventually.
But that's sort of where all the antecedents of this story, whereas the One Doctor, their previous Christmas special, because this was a Christmas special, whereas the One Doctor kind of sent up concepts. This was a very particular send-up of Star Trek, Space 1999, and it's you can almost imagine Clay and Gareth sitting down with a few bottles of wine and saying, right, we're doing Star Trek and Space 1999, what else can we send up? Eurovision! Yeah, okay.
I almost imagine Eurovision must have been on while they were writing, and that's where they got the inspiration from.
What? Very possibly, because even in the UK it's really big. I don't know about 2002, but there's very often a sort of talent show to select their act, and even when there isn't, there's big media hype and speculation about who it's going to be that's going over. So it is just on for a week, but there's about 3 months of build-up as countries start releasing their songs. And usually there's some controversy about if the song was released too early, or in this case, Russia's been banned from performing this year because their singer had visited Crimea, and people who visit Crimea are barred from entering the Ukraine.
Classic Russia.
Yeah.
But there is always controversy, so it kind of makes sense setting a murder mystery in Eurovision because it's kind of the one thing that hasn't happened there. I don't think.
Yes.
As far as we know.
Yeah,
so
right.
that's the first scene dealt with.
One down.
Yes. So sorry.
Yeah, I originally picked this because what we're doing, I think we actually didn't ever mention, we explained that we're watching 16 audios, but I don't think we ever actually mentioned that we're doing, Dylan picks one, I pick one, Dylan picks one, I pick one.
Yeah, we each picked one for each doctor, so this was Keon's choice.
Yeah, so I originally picked this because I was looking for one to do for the 7th Doctor, and I was like, oh, looks like Robots of Death / Eurovision / hopefully funniness / Terror of the Vervoids, which was just Robots of Death, but worse. Well, not really. But,
I love Terror of the Vervoids, but I agree it's not as good as Robots of Death.
But I didn't find this as funny as
you
hoping.
You walked in the door today and you were like, you were giving suggestions for what the intro should be, and you're like, Robots of Death, but way worse. Terror of the Vervoids, but worse.
You know what?
There wasn't enough singing.
Sorry, go on.
That's all I want to say. There wasn't enough music, singing.
I remember when I first listened to this, and it wasn't at the time because at that time Big Finish didn't have downloads, so the only way to buy Big Finish was to buy a $30 CD, which I just couldn't afford to do.
Okay, sorry.
The Dark Ages.
Yeah, and it's now like a $15 download.
Yeah,
it's
this one's free because it's one of the first 50.
This one's free. Yeah.
It's also free if you have Spotify.
We listen to it on
Spotify.
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of them on Spotify now. I forgot about that. But yeah, so I'm trying to remember when I first heard this, and I think it may have even been about 5 or 6 years later, in about 2008. But I'd heard The One Doctor and thought, oh well, Bang Bang a Boom, same people, Christmas special, etc., etc. And I start listening to it, and I love Sylvester's Doctor and I love Bonnie because they were the Doctor and companion when I started watching Doctor Who live as opposed to on recordings. So they're the ones I pressed the record button on. So as a result, I will love Time of the Rani forever. But
even though it is terrible.
Yeah, I came to this and I remember listening to the first episode and thinking, this isn't funny. I'm not enjoying this. This isn't like The One Doctor. But then when we get to the end of episode 1 and Bonnie Langford is given the thankless line that she delivers so brilliantly, which is something like, we have to face facts, Nikki. There's no doubt. He's been murdered. And it's like, oh, that's what this is. It's meant to be crap. And then I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had the same experience. It took me to the end of episode 2, but I was sort of disappointed at how sort of tiresome and routine I was finding it. But then, once you just kind of go with it, and there are enough sort of silly, sly references to other things, I think, to keep you going. But it's all sort of fairly inconsequential and sort of throwaway, isn't it?
Another two particular favourite moments that I love are not so much Angvia trying to seduce the Doctor, but the Doctor and Mel discussing it afterwards, and they're both equally disgusted with the idea of the Doctor having any romantic feelings whatsoever. And the reveal, of course, as Professor Ivor Fassbinder is dying, that he's a complete fake, and he's just been constantly drunk the last 20 years.
That's what I wrote. I wrote in my notes. How did they not realize it?
Yeah, well, and he just says, God, whenever anything comes through the jump gate, I just say the first thing that comes into my head. But again, that's harking back to the Space 1999 theme, where they'll just say things like, we're heading towards a black sun, and then they'll go through the black sun, and then instead of being torn inside out, they have a metaphysical experience and meet God, and they come out the other end, and the scientist just goes, well, maybe there is a scientific explanation, but I don't know, and he just smokes a cigar. It's that kind of 70s madness where it's like, hey, let's make science fiction, but let's use scientific words, but they don't mean anything.
Yeah, it's an approach to science fiction that I really appreciate.
Yes, that's true. Really like it. And I think the whole thing with Eleanor constantly, I'm so helpless. that's Dr. Russell in Space 1999 as well. But it's also, I think, a little bit of a dig at Gates McFadden in the first series of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I was listening to it, actually.
Yeah.
There's a massive body count in that sick bay, isn't there?
Exactly.
You really don't want to end up in that sick bay in season 1 because you'll be dead.
Yeah, well, Gates McFadden says on one of the documentaries that Marina used to look through the scripts, and if she was ever hurt, she'd just look up in the read-through and say, "Don't send me to her, she'll kill me."
Well, to me, one of the funniest things in the first episode, I guess it was kind of the whole point of the first episode, was Eleanor keeps accidentally hitting the emergency alarm when she's recording her log. And then
We've really got to move that.
Yeah, right. And then at the end of the episode, the alarm goes off, and the way it's been set up is you think it's going to be a fake alarm. Yeah. Oh, it's just Eleanor. She's hit the button again, but then it's actually someone's been killed, and I think that was actually a good payoff. Probably the best part of the whole thing, to be honest.
And that sort of weird pantomime noise that they do, the musical sting whenever anyone gets killed. There's a sort of dun dun dun,
and then there's one where it's like, "She's dead, dun dun dun." Oh wait, no, she's okay.
Yeah, well, so the doctor and Mel are going to Paris. And they accidentally land in the new commander's spaceship, which then immediately gets blown to smithereens. Yeah. For unrelated reasons to the doctor landing there.
Yeah.
And then the doctor gets beamed in, and then instead of doing what they usually do on the show, which is they just blame the doctor for everything, they did something which I appreciated, which was they didn't blame him for anything and made him the commander.
Well, they thought he was. Yes. They thought that he was the commander, and Mel was the
pilot.
The pilot.
Pilot Mel.
Yeah.
And we're also introduced here to some of the other characters.
Well, this is when we meet Fassbinder and Eleanor and the announcer guy who gets killed in part
Logan.
3. Logan, that was it.
So Logan is just Terry Wogan, who famously did the British coverage of Eurovision for many, many years. He's no longer with us.
He's no longer with us, literally decades. And again, it was a nonsensical song from Amsterdam. I think it was Amsterdam, which did really well because the girls in it were scantily clad. And he made a very public announcement afterwards, pretty much saying, "I literally don't understand how this song won, and I think if I don't understand Eurovision anymore, I probably shouldn't be commentating on it." But his style was, it kind of embraced the fact that he didn't really understand what was going on, and he would make the asides like Logan makes about his wife having made his lunch and what have you. But he just had this air of, I don't know what's happening, but I'm enjoying myself immensely.
Yeah, and he used to, there was always a kind of sort of subtext that he thought the whole thing was sort of mildly ridiculous as well.
Yeah, but yeah, he kind of, when he retired, he kind of said, I always understood what was going on, but I was playing this character who didn't, because I thought there'd be people at home. But it's just like, no, if I genuinely don't get it anymore, then I don't think I should do it. And now Graham Norton does it instead.
Graham Norton, that's a name I recognise.
Yes. Yeah.
From Rose, from the first, first episode of the new series.
No, I've watched a show. I've watched the Graham Norton show.
Yeah. Well, he often has guests. Terry Wogan used to do the same thing. He had the Terry Wogan show, and Wogan, I think it was called.
And he was a big supporter of Doctor Who. Because he had this Tonight Show in the 80s, and he would constantly have Peter Davison or Colin Baker on, during the 18-month hiatus. After that ended, the week Doctor Who was coming back, Wogan arrived in the studio in a TARDIS and exited it being chased by a mandrill and a Cyberman and what have you, and Colin Baker, and interviewed Colony, and, it's wonderful, it's back. So Terry Wogan was a cultural icon on par with Doctor Who. Mm. And he's actually sent up really, really well here. Like whoever they've got to play him does him so very well.
Well, that was completely over my head. Probably yours too.
It
Dylan.
Was, but I did really enjoy his character.
He was
That's good. Yeah. I mean, I can easily see how if you don't know who Wogan is, you're wondering who is this eccentric. But I suppose because the story's full of eccentrics anyway, you don't really question it.
Yeah, the Doctor's the least eccentric person there for once.
Yeah, like, you do get this air that the Doctor's stumbling around going, God, I thought I was nuts. What's wrong with you people?
Even Mel's eccentric in this one, running around playing detective.
What did you think of Mel in this? She's heaps different, I think, from how she appears on the show.
She did feel a little bit
a lot older when
different. Yeah, she was different.
But you get used to it. I
definitely feel in part 1, but I think by part 2 you just got used to it, and you're like, okay, well, this is Mel now.
This is what we have now.
This is what we got to deal with.
She's a bit theatrical in the show. It's a bit panto when she's on television, and she's actually a really good actor. Like, she's on EastEnders and stuff at the moment. But she's clearly sort of playing it big in a sort of children's television sort of way. But here she's much more sarky and kind of funny, and she makes fun of the Doctor and things all the time. I like her a lot.
Yeah, I love her when she doesn't recognise Nicky Newman, and is incredibly excited about that. And she's just like, just tell me what your name is.
So who is Nicky Newman based on, do we think?
I think he's based on the sort of Boy's Own Gareth Gates mould of singer. Like, so Take That kind of British boy band.
He'd have been Justin Bieber, but Justin probably wasn't born then.
Yeah. A British Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Do you guys know the names of any of the boy bands I just mentioned?
No, I don't.
No, but to be fair, I know the name of like one boy band, 2 maybe.
Right.
It's not a surprise, I suppose.
Robbie Williams. He'd be like Robbie Williams without the substance abuse.
Okay.
Maybe with the substance abuse. He spent a lot of time in the toilet in the later parts of the series.
Well, it's probably just the bomb that's been implanted in his chest. I'm not going to blame him for that.
Was it his chest?
His stomach or
somewhere.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like.
Oh yeah, he ate it, didn't he? So
it must have
been somewhere in his digestive
Loosely
tract.
fed it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. He thought it was an aspirin.
Yes.
Sore head or something.
So the Doctors arrived and they're like, this is international song competition going on. And the Doctor's like, okay, sure, I'm just going to go along with that. And someone gets murdered pretty much immediately.
Well, they set up the whole peace conference thing. We get the his name was Golos, but he was from Golos. And he had a translator. Who I spoiled that I accidentally spoiled that it was the translator all along. So that's part of the reason why I was kind of disinterested for the entire thing.
Right.
I mean, I still liked it, but then there's also who's the other Angvia
and the adjudicator, quote unquote adjudicator, who's actually
apparently a rat.
If you look at the cover, it's a rat.
So that. The rat race, the Packers, were a creation of Gary Russell.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he started them as a send-up of the Murdochs. Sorry, not the Murdochs. But, okay, so you guys are aware of Rupert Murdoch. In Australia, we had a rival of his, Kerry Packer.
Yeah. Okay.
So the Packers were introduced in, I believe, Placebo Effect, with a character called Kerry Packer.
Right.
And
who was a rat.
And now we have Jerry Packer.
Right. I didn't make that connection at all. Isn't that funny? Of course, Angvia is played by Patricia Quinn, who was Balage in Dragonfire.
Yes.
And the big lips on the screen in the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes, and also Magenta.
Obviously.
Yeah. I think she gives the best performance of the whole story. And, when you've got Graham Garden, whom I love.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
But, yeah, I think she is absolutely amazing because I hear her voice and I do just think... You remember when Romana's trying on all the different bodies in Destiny of the Daleks, and one comes out that's 8 foot tall.
Yes.
Oh, and the Doctor says, "Take it away."
Too tall.
Oh, the 8 foot tall. No, I'm thinking of her as the one that he says, "Take it away." The one who comes out shimmying with the massive breasts and the sort of. And that's how I was.
Oh yeah. That's how I'm imagining her. I'm imagining her as this 8 foot tall Hellenic woman with dark hair, just almost literally lifting Sylvester McCoy off his feet because he is 5'6".
Yeah.
That's pretty much how I imagined her as well. Actually, surprisingly enough, although I imagined Packer as someone who looked vaguely like Alpha Centauri, although I don't know.
It's the voice.
The voice is very similar, and the temperament is very similar as well. And poor Jerry Packer gets assaulted by Mel.
Yeah, I think she's dead.
Yeah.
I thought she was dead, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, she's alive," and I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess she's not dead." Yeah. So who was first to die?
So it's someone, isn't it? Someone inconsequential. It's just some random nobody.
Is it Lieutenant Strindberg?
No, Strindberg survives. He takes over from
Strindberg
Logan.
survives.
That's right. Yeah.
Because the Doctor calls him Lieutenant, and then he's like, "No, Lieutenant," and the Doctor's like, "Oh, yes, that's right."
It's the opposite of the joke in the Twin Dilemma with Hugo Lang.
Yes. I think someone just inconsequential dies first.
Yeah, it's one of the performers, probably.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up. There's a wonderful website called Doctor Who Guide, and Doctor as in DR. Here we are. Mike, here we are. So, the singer from Serene is the first victim, and that's the one where Mel's like, "She's been murdered."
That major character with lots of character development.
So they end it with sort of a funny sort of sting sound effect type thing.
Right. I guess this is a good time to mention. You wouldn't have heard us discuss this on the Storm Warning episode, but we actually, for the first however many Big Finish audios, they didn't use the specific intro and outro, and we didn't know which was the first one to actually use the correct one.
Surprise,
as it turns out, it's this one. This is actually the first one to use the correct era specific.
They just used the normal one.
Yeah, they just used the Pertwee
Baker one,
Derbyshire mix for the first 36 or so audios, except for the Paul McGann ones, because that was a new arrangement they owned. Yeah, I believe it was some sort of copyright, because Warner Chappell, of course, owned the Doctor Who theme, and they literally only had the budget to license one version. But around this time, they figured out when I think Warner could see the range was a success, they were able to argue, well, look, if we pay you a little bit more and we pay the artists, so Keff McCulloch and Dominic Glynn and Peter Howe, can we use the era-specific ones? And I do remember that when I got up to this one in my continuous listen, I was very excited by that.
I mean, it's a bit exciting. Finally actually tying it in with the show, though, trying to continue.
Yeah, and the continuity announcer you mentioned at the beginning, that was standard for BBC programming. There would actually be a continuity announcer sitting there live, and it still happens. Most BBC stations and terrestrial stations in the UK will still have announcers sitting there on an 8-hour shift just leading into and out of the program. So, like, on the DVDs, when you see a continuity compilation and you hear a voice, that's not pre-recorded. That's someone sitting there in front of a monitor at TV Centre saying it live. And that's why occasionally there's little stumbles, because it was live. They didn't retake it.
These are deliberately jokey too, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. It's very much tongue-in-cheek, because some of the early Big Finishers just had them at the top of Ep 1. Like, I think... Sirens of Time has it, and Land of the Dead. But yeah, this one, it was designed to evoke, it's 1987, it's December or whenever Doctor Who was going out. No one was watching.
No one was watching. True. So episode 2 more people die.
Yeah, 2. Like I mentioned before, I was reading while listening to this. I'm not going to do that.
I don't
anymore.
know how you can do that. To be honest, I can't read or write anything when I'm listening to something with words. It's just not possible for me.
Yeah,
it's really difficult.
I can't do it while paying attention to what I'm listening to. I can do it. But 2, I mean, even still, I felt 2 had the most just sort of running around-ish. Well, we get a lot of Mel and what's-his-face? Nicky, I think, in the beginning.
Yeah.
He sort of explains his backstory, how he's like a reluctant pop star, keeps mentioning his agent/mom.
Yeah, the doctor makes a every Poirot needs his Watson joke. And then Mel corrects him, is like, no, Hastings. The doctor's completely oblivious to what she means by that.
Yeah.
I think they pick up on that joke later, don't they, where they say, how did Sherlock Holmes meet his end? And it was like Watson sort of smacked him in the head because he was so irritating.
Yes.
Well, they also do the thing that almost every Poirot novel does, where they, at the end of the novel, Poirot gets all of the people in one room and then he reveals who the murderer was. So
in Futurama, that's explicitly called the accusing parlor, I think.
Right.
Well, I think the doctor accidentally calls it the drawing room because that's, traditionally where it is.
Yeah. And everyone's like, we don't have the drawing room. Oh, yeah, Captain's cabin.
Reading room.
He also calls it the reading room and the rest room, I think.
Yeah. All the ready room gags. I remember as a kid watching Star Trek Next Generation and being really confused as to why it was called the ready room.
I still don't know.
I think it's something to do with that's where the captain gets ready on a sailing ship.
Where he gets ready.
That's the only thing I can think of. But I remember turning to my dad and saying, "Why don't they just call it the office? It looks like an office to me."
What about what do they call the room where they all sit around? Saying exposition.
That's the observation lounge.
The exposition lounge.
The exposition lounge, yeah. I mean, observation lounge at least makes sense because you've got a big window next to it.
Yeah, but they're all talking at each other. I'd be looking out the window. There'd be no way I'd concentrate on what these people were saying.
Yeah. Michael Dorn isn't. If you watch any bloopers, they're just full of Michael Dorn not being able to get through his dialogue in the ready room scenes.
Because he's looking out the window. Yeah. Those curtains.
Yeah, there's just all these takes of Patrick Stewart saying, right, Counselor Troy, I want you to talk to him and find out what he knows. Commander Riker, set course for Starbase 13. Mr. LaForge, I need the engines at top efficiency. Mr. Worf, oh, God damn it, Michael.
Maybe that was just a shtick.
We haven't talked about Loosely, or Golos, really. So Loosely is the translator, and he's played by Nicholas Grace, who is really sort of terribly famous in England and very recently appeared in Decline and Fall on BBC One.
Yeah, and he does a few more big finishes, usually as villains. But, yeah, this time, as you spoiled yourself earlier... He is the villain, but he's kind of at the beginning. He's not meant to be playing it as a villain, so it adds a new dimension to him. And of course, Golos is in that wonderful tradition of Star Trek energy clouds.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead here, but another thing I love about this story is how we subvert the energy being, because I'm pretty sure all 5 energy beings in the original series of Star Trek are evil creatures who want to retain people for company or drink their blood or other.
No, I think the one in the Day of the Dove was probably teaching us a valuable lesson about being nice to Klingons.
Yeah, being nice to people with press-on beards. Especially the women with press-on beards. But yeah, I love the subversion here that Golos has just been spending 4 episodes wandering around saying, he's a murderer! Why won't you listen to me? And also the idea that Terry Wogan has just created the universal translator in his spare time.
It's nice that we get Terry Wogan back, though, at the end, so that he can be the voice of Golos.
Good. If you think about it, Logan's the most intelligent person in this entire story because the doctors are fake, the scientist is a drunk, and then there's Logan who's invented a universal translator in his free time.
The doctor's just making things up.
Yeah.
He's just She
just feels so helpless.
So this is the seduction scene too in episode 2, isn't it? Where Patricia Quinn gets her hands on Sylvester McCoy.
Gets her pits on Sylvester McCoy.
Yeah, beware the pits of Angria.
All right, they find the note.
No,
they don't know what it means.
Beware the pits of Angria.
and of course, I don't know what facilities Big Finish were using at this time, but I believe this was before they had their current state-of-the-art facilities with individual booths and whatnot. So I like to think that Patricia Quinn and Sylvester McCoy really were rubbing up against each other.
Yeah, I reckon Sylvester would have got into Patricia Quinn's lap. He would have loved that.
I would get into Patricia Quinn's lap even now. She is still with us, isn't she? I didn't just make a horrible necrophilia joke. Okay. Is there such a thing as a good necrophilia joke? I don't. Let's not
Who said that?
Sorry. Yeah, so the Angvia scene was kind of interesting.
We also didn't mention that Angvia is intentionally an anagram of vagina, so...
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh. Now, you see, there's a reason we didn't notice that, because...
That's true, that's fair.
Generally, we just don't. But... hold on. I just need to see it written down. Oh my god.
Roberts is a very naughty man, isn't he? I think that's quite good, because it takes the Doctor to a place where not only he's never been before, apart from Kamika, obviously, the Aztecs.
Of course.
That was hot. You wish your girl was hot like Kamika.
Oh god. Sorry.
But also it takes the Doctor to a place that's going to irritate most Doctor Who fans really enormously.
Yeah. Which I think is something that Clay and Gareth set out to do, and it's something they set out to do in The One Doctor as well. Is The One Doctor on your list to listen to, boys?
No, but I have actually listened to it.
And I have.
Oh, okay.
We'll listen to it eventually in our quest to
listen to experience everything Doctor Who related ever.
Fair enough. I won't spoil the moment that I think would irritate people in that story, but it's incredibly funny, and it involves Matt Lucas of all people, because Matt Lucas is in The One Doctor.
Okay. I didn't actually know that, because I listened to it a while ago, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He's a giant
cellular
jelly organism.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it is something they kind of set out to do, and they'll go on to write. Gareth Roberts, of course, goes on to write for the new series. He also writes for the Sarah Jane Adventures. He and Clayton Hickman do a charity scene for the Sarah Jane Adventures, which includes a line that had fans sort of rolling their eyes as well. So I think, being such big fans themselves, they kind of know what's going to annoy us, which is great. I mean, and that's the whole seduction scene. There are two fan ways to respond to that, and one of those is to be irritated that the Doctor is doing anything romantic, and the other one is taking pleasure in knowing how much that's going to irritate people who find it annoying that the Doctor is doing something romantic. Guys, where did you sit on it?
The latter for me.
Yeah,
especially after watching the TV movie where they tried to do a romantic thing more seriously, and we didn't like that. But just coming at it here from a different angle, sort of a more humorous angle, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm on board with this.
Personally, I'm never against the Doctor being romantic. Cause,
you said, okay, never mind.
No, I'm against him being romantic because the way they do it on the show, it's the only defining part of every companion who does it, and they never execute it in any realistic way, which is why I don't think the Doctor should be romantic, because they can never execute on it. But if they did it well, I wouldn't be against it per se.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the thing with the telly movie, if you get a chance to get your hands on the novelization, it's based on a slightly earlier script, and so it includes a lot more character development, which is really good. And also, in the original script, they don't kiss at the end; they hug. The script sort of refers to the fact that they had been through something incredibly emotional together. In the defense of that moment, though, Daphne Ashbrook has, of course, been asked about it at conventions by angry fans, and she's like, you know what? I wasn't aware of what happened in the series. I wasn't aware that, him being an alien who lives for so long, he doesn't really do that sort of thing. I can't really comment on what Paul was thinking, but my thinking in the scene, and I think you can see where I'm coming from with this, is I'm a human woman who is attracted to this man.
He's Paul McGann.
He's Paul, and those are her exact words. He's Paul McGann, guys. And she was saying this with Paul on stage. He's Paul McGann. I would do it now. Look at him. And, of course, Paul is actually an incredibly shy person and just sinking into his chair. But, yeah, I mean, my main problem with the kiss in the telly movie is you're right, it doesn't feel earned. It feels like this is a romantic story and this is what we do at the end of a romantic story.
I also think, too, it's some obvious retooling for a broader audience. It's kind of like... we've got to make the Doctor more of an acceptable kind of hero. And so, like, part of the fun... I'm ambivalent about it because I actually do like some of the romance in the new series, but when we only had the old series, I think part of the reason that Doctor Who, in the 90s got this sort of massive gay fandom, like Gareth and Clayton. Is Clayton gay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Very.
Was that you had this, strange eccentric traveller going around the universe with a bunch of gorgeous women whom he had absolutely no interest in. And so I think that's, that is something that was lost. And I think I remember talking to Paul Cornell, who writes for the new series, and was very conscious of that being a loss. But I think in a modern TV show, you've got to have some romance, it just makes the characters more human and relatable. And I think Russell T. Davies very deliberately tried to avoid the kind of, I think he said, sort of neutered public schoolboy that the Doctor was in some of his past incarnations.
Yeah. I mean, I think the can't really call it a romance between Doctor and Angvia, but the seduction between them, I think it is handled as a joke, but also the Doctor being so disturbed because he is so emotionally reserved and he doesn't know why he's feeling this way, counterpoints really well with Eleanor constantly trying to flirt with him and he has no idea what's going on.
He's completely oblivious to it.
Yeah, exactly. And of course then I think he starts to twig when she gets jealous of Angvia.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, for God's sake.
He kind of commits wholeheartedly to the whole thing because of the whole Angvia's pits are emitting some sort of pheromone that is making him fall in love with her. And then I think Mel is like pressing, like, is there something wrong with you, Doctor? So I think Mel has realized too that the Doctor doesn't really fall in love either. And the Doctor's like, no, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. And but I think Mel egging him on is what makes him finally realize that everything's not okay. And I think it's near the end of episode 2.
Something like that. I mean, Mel realizes before he even does. So.
Yeah.
What?
Somebody else dies at the end of episode 2 again. Logan dies, yeah.
Logan.
No.
Yeah.
No. He gets actually stabbed in the back. It's not a metaphor.
Stabbed in the literal back.
That's a reference.
To us.
To one of our episodes.
Stabbed in the literal back instead of, I remember that one. Instead of stabbed in the metaphorical back. So we say goodbye to Logan.
And then the doctor is examining the body, Eleanor, and she's all, so the cause of death was a stab in the back. And then Mel's like, well, I could have told you that.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess
it is more of her incompetence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Poor old Eleanor.
And that kind of happens in Space 1999 as well. Like, you'll have someone who's being haunted by their own future ghost having a severe psychotic episode, and Dr. Helena Russell will give them an aspirin and a good lie down.
Yeah, she had great bedside manner, but really knew nothing at all about medicine.
And fantastic hair.
Great hair.
Yeah, great hair. And constantly frosting whenever she had a close-up, which was really unfair because she looked much better than Martin Bloody Landau, who never got frosting. Sorry, we're digressing again. So then we get Ep 3.
Mm-hmm.
And much like any Doctor Who story, we're left asking what happened in Ep 3.
True.
So it's all the kind of lead up, isn't it? We get the lead up to the contest itself. I think sort of Nikki and Mel really team up to sort of go investigating.
They go for a swim at one point.
Yeah, they do.
Just kind of out of nowhere.
And I mean, I guess I didn't think of this while listening to it, but now that we're bringing it up, I wonder if there's sort of an intentional meandering in part 3 to sort of evoke, I don't know, the classic series, because, well, I just read, I guess we're spoiling it even though we didn't want to say what we're going to do for our 16 weeks of audio/books, but I just read, gosh, I can't even remember what it's called now. Romance of Crime, for the 4th Doctor, and I thought maybe this is just me, I thought there was a very intentional sort of meandering in, I guess, what would have been part 3.
I haven't read it yet because we have 3 weeks till we have to record that. So, according to Keon, 3 weeks is like 3 months.
3 weeks is like 3 years. That's a Gareth Roberts book, so I don't know.
Yeah,
probably not.
It's in the sort of same series as The English Way of Death, isn't it? Yeah. Like all set in season 17.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. I think Gareth Roberts does have a tendency for tangents. Now, as you're not up to his new series stuff yet, there's one particular story he wrote, and in Doctor Who magazine, he said, "This is the original last scene." And it reads like a joke last scene, but you never actually know, and it just goes off on this mad tangent. I won't say which episode it is. I won't say what's in the last scene, but it's utterly crazy that you think they would have never put it in, but it's so crazy that you think they just might have done. And yeah, I think you're right. I think that is a feature of his writing, a sort of enjoyable filler.
So what do we get here? I guess we get as the thing starts, as the contest starts.
You get lots of Strindberg not being able to do anything.
I was so disappointed that there weren't any songs until part 3.
Yeah.
The first song,
aren't they?
Yeah, and I mean, I thought this was
the first song was the worst of the 3 that we actually got. But
my expectations got the better of me because I thought this was going to be like full blown sort of musical. But it wasn't. So.
No.
But once again,
that's okay, but,
you can imagine it with an unlimited budget. So strobe lights and fireworks and whatever.
I'm not imagining strobe lights on an unlimited budget.
They're very cheap to do on audio, I think, strobe lights. But, I actually kind of think the songs are setting up just the kind of weird, inexplicable kind of character of some of the Eurovision songs.
Yeah, like the Angvia song.
Oh, you can't.
It's mental, isn't it?
But that... Some countries will put that into Eurovision.
So the Angvia song, I don't know if you've seen Borat, but it reminded me of when Borat sang the anthem for Kazakhstan in the movie. It sounded exactly like it.
Oh, I tell you what, I love the fact that the Earth national anthem is I Will Survive, isn't it?
Yes.
And so they all stand and sing the Earth national anthem. Yeah. At first I was afraid, I was petrified. It's awesome.
Clay and Gareth said in an interview, the reason they chose that is, if you look back across classic Doctor Who, Earth is just constantly being invaded. So they're like, by what year is this set in? 38, 85 or something like that. By that year, Earth has been invaded about 150 times. So the Earth national anthem becomes I Will Survive. But seriously, I think about 2 or 3 years ago, France put in a song not unlike Angvia's thing. And at one point, when the singer was singing it, these guys come out sort of with those holsters that people use for carrying large flags, in marching bands.
Yep.
But the thing is, they're wearing flesh-coloured bodysuits, and they came out in a long shot, and I'm just sitting there going, are they naked? Oh, no. And also, now that we're close up, thank God.
Can't put nudity on TV, Keon.
If you're going to go halfway, go all the way.
This is HBO.
There was almost a
HBO's
nude
on
Eurovision
TV.
act last year. There's never been a nude Eurovision act, but there was this guy who wanted to sing naked on stage with wolves. And he's singing, and in the end they settled for him naked as a hologram petting a hologram wolf, but he had his legs strategically placed so you couldn't see anything. But the weird thing was he's got all this wolf motif happening, right? The song is called I Will Help You Learn How to Fly.
Wolves
Sorry?
can't fly, can they?
Not unless you try very, very hard. And I wouldn't
guess you
recommend
could if you threw them.
Again, I wouldn't recommend it
Okay.
because, wolves are generally a bit stroppy at the best of times. Maybe he was suggesting some sort of Wolf Catapult, I don't know. But that's the kind of stuff you get in Eurovision. Naked holograms petting hologram wolves while telling them they're going to teach them how to fly. What?
Sounds like a good time to me.
Yes, sounds like a regular Saturday afternoon to me. I don't know what you guys do on
Thursday
Saturday.
night. For Shia LaBeouf. What was it for Shia LaBeouf?
For Shia LaBeouf.
Okay.
Actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
Actually, Shia LaBeouf would be perfect for Eurovision.
Shia LaBeouf
No,
would
but
be
you
perfect
guys
for
are
the
talking
Doctor.
about that brilliant thing that the choir does about being
Doctor.
attacked by Shia LaBeouf. Have you
Yes.
seen that? Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, I don't know about this.
I'll play
sounds-
that to you after we finish recording.
Yeah, you have to
sounds
listen to it.
fantastic.
It's fantastic.
It's brilliant.
So,
So we get the
You have to
fact
actually cut off your
here.
leg. Just remember to actually cut off your leg, please. Okay, sorry.
sorry, what was that?
So things do happen in episode 3. Like Fassbinder gets killed.
Right, Fassbinder-
he
Yeah,
actually
I think.
dies.
No,
and
Fassbinder
admits
dies
that-
about in the middle because the cliffhanger is when Mel accidentally kills the
Oh, yeah.
quote unquote kills the adjudicator.
Right.
Yes, and she has an exposition coma, Nathan.
I know, I was so proud as I was thinking, does this count as an exposition coma? And it really did. Yeah, just a little one.
If I can go back to the death of Fassbender for a moment, guys, are you aware of that actor's history, Graham Garden?
No.
No.
Nope.
Have you heard of a show called The Goodies?
I've heard of it, but I have not watched
Okay,
it.
so Graham Garden, Bill Oddie, and Tim Brooke-Taylor, all of whom have guested for Big Finish.
Bill Oddie was in The Pirates.
Yes, Doctor Who and the Pirates, and Tim Brooke-Taylor is in The Zygon Who Fell to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So in the 60s, they worked with the Monty Python crew on early shows such as I'm Sorry, I'll Read That Again, and not the 1948 show. And so Monty Python went off to do Monty Python, and these three guys went off to do The Goodies, which was ostensibly a sitcom. But the premise is that they are essentially for hire for any sort of job. So in an episode that won a rose at the Cannes Festival called Kitten Kong, they start a pet minding business. And you've got the three characters all named after themselves. So Tim is a staunch monarchist, God save the Queen, but is also a complete prat and useless. Bill Oddie, on the other end, is this Bolshevist, socialist, wants to get rid of the royal family.
And he's sort of cool hippie musical guy.
hippie. Mm-hmm. Graham Garden is the scientific one, as he is in this story. So he makes crazy inventions. So in Kitten Kong, he makes a special growth formula to help the kitten grow up big and strong. And as you can guess from the title, it becomes a 50-foot monster kitten, which they then let loose in a model of London.
There's a very famous scene of a kitten on the post office tower, which you guys will know from the War Machines, and the post office tower sort of falling down.
Yes.
There's one brilliant episode where Beryl Reid comes in playing Mary Whitehouse and gets the boys to create a sex education video, which is pretty funny. And you can actually see that on YouTube.
Yeah. There's another episode where Patrick Troughton is a vampire and keeps locking them up in his cellar with bombs and acid and things. And so that'll happen that'll happen in one scene, and then there'll be an ad break, and you'll come back and the resolution will literally be the three of them coming out of the cellar going, well, I'm glad we got out of that. So they were sending up Doctor Who. I think John Pertwee does one as well. Yeah. And that's the other thing. As it got big, every week they would have a big name guest star. Mm-hmm. One of the most famous ones. Have you guys seen Dad's Army?
No.
Nope.
The British sitcom. There's a famous actor from that called John Le Mesurier who was the voice of reason on that. In this, he's a farmer, but he's turned his farm to automation. And I don't know how they did it, but his automation center is a 1-to-1 replica of the original USS Enterprise bridge. And I don't mean it's a crappy BBC replica. It's like they've just gone 10 years back in time and picked up the original set. So you get to see Professor Fassbinder sitting in the Captain Kirk chair in that story.
He was always my favourite, and he's still got a long career on radio. I think he
does Just a Minute a lot.
Yeah, he's really great and terrifically funny, and so here he's sort of downplaying it a bit, but that speech about how he's been drunk all the time, I just think is absolutely marvellous. And of course, it ends with that sort of stupid thing of him. He's about to say who the villain is, but that's right. But he says like lots of things in the middle. It's kind of they're saying, "Please, please, just get on with it," because they know this trope. They know that he's going to die.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the cast put a foot wrong in this one. Everyone knows the kind of show they're in, and it's the kind of thing that you give actors and you tell them you can't go high enough over the top in this one.
Well,
and they just go, yeah.
I think Fassbinder's really restrained, and I think Eleanor's really restrained. I think they're both really, really funny, but without going big and being Angvia, you know.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, you couldn't have everyone be like Patricia Quinn, and I think probably everyone came in and said, I'm not going to try and compete with Patricia Quinn. She's kind of like the female version of Brian Blessed, I think, for actors. It's like you're not going to try and compete, frankly.
I think Nicholas Grace does a pretty good job of trying to compete, and I think that Angvia Golos thing, which is, you know, like a super crummy Star Trek idea, isn't it? You know, like the two warring races that we've never heard of before and that we'll never hear of again.
But it is, again, kind of a tie-in to Eurovision, because how the scoring system works for Eurovision, guys, is each country has an international jury, so 5 experts who will watch a rehearsal of the songs and make their judgment based on that. And what they will do is there's 10 sets of points, so there's 12, 10, 8, and then 7 down to 1, which they'll give to 10 countries. So that accounts for half the score. The other half of the score comes from televoting. So this halftime show I mentioned earlier with this halftime show with Justin Timberlake, while that's going on, people are texting in their votes. And the only rule is you can't vote for your own country. But that means that, for instance, Belarus will usually give 12 points to Russia. Greece will give 12 points to Cyprus, and Cyprus will give 12 points to Greece.
But it also motivates you to give low points as well, doesn't it? Come Dine With Me, where the way you win is to give everyone else really low points and hope that they don't do the same thing.
Yeah. The funniest part is usually the UK, because the UK has a lot of Irish immigrants, will give Ireland 12 points. Ireland will give the UK 1. But yeah, so this whole idea of these rivalries does play into the whole Eurovision thing. And the song that won last year from Ukraine, and of course Ukraine at the moment, Russia has aggressively moved into the Ukraine again.
Yep.
Classic Russia. Classic Russia. The song from Ukraine last year includes the lyrics, "When strangers are coming, they come to your house, they kill you all and say they're not guilty."
Well, that's topical.
But it's called 1944 because it's absolutely not about what's happening in Russia at the moment. We don't make political comments in Eurovision, and it is frowned upon to make political comments in your songs. No, this is about history. This is about what happened in World War II. It's absolutely not about the Russian tanks coming into
other time that people invaded and killed us and blamed it on us. Of course.
Yeah, and Russia were the favourite to win because they put in this really catchy pop song, and they were protesting the Ukrainian song throughout the whole period. And when Ukraine won, they were really dirty on it and what have you. And I think they also were really upset that Australia came second, because Australia's in Eurovision now. Think about that one.
Oh man!
Because we have a dedicated TV station for overseas, and we pay our fees into the European Broadcasting Union. That's the only criteria. If you pay your fees into the European Broadcasting Union, you can compete, which is why Azerbaijan's in there.
Even Israel's been in it.
Turkey.
Yeah.
Although Turkey refused to be in it now because two girls kissed on stage a few years ago.
Of course. Maybe we can bribe someone in South Africa to pay off some fees and then get a South African entry one year. No, wouldn't that be interesting?
I'd actually pay to see that. I dated a South African guy when I was living in the UK and heard some South African music and really liked it. So
it's not bad. It's not bad.
It's a little tinted coming from you.
That's fair. That's fair. I might be a little biased.
You see, that's why if you were in South Africa, you wouldn't be able to vote for South Africa. But being in California, you would be allowed to vote for South Africa.
Well, actually, I am not an American citizen. I'm still a South African citizen, so I don't think that's actually true.
Oh no, you'd be allowed to vote. It's based on geography.
So all you need to do is get California to secede.
Please, okay.
And then pay the European Broadcasting.
This is getting increasingly complex for a song contest.
Then you could put someone in. There's so many talented people in California. I'm sure you'd find someone who would romp it in Eurovision.
But also, you don't have to be from that country to sing for that country, because Celine Dion has sung for France and won for France. Olivia Newton-John has sung for the UK. The Danish entry this year is an Australian singer.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it Shannon Knoll?
No, she's a lady.
Okay.
And I haven't heard of her before, but she's the favourite to win, and she's really good. Which, goes against the whole spirit of Eurovision.
Yeah, it's cheating, really.
I love when there's like bookies who are betting on every single little thing. This is the person most favoured to win the song competition. This is the person who's going to be the next doctor. You can bet on this now. I love that.
Confession time, full disclosure. The reason I know so much about Eurovision is the oft-mentioned and only once heard on Flight Through Entirety, my partner Rod
is
a massive Eurovision fan.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that in the when we were planning this.
When we were setting this up.
Yeah.
We get up at 5 a.m. to watch the live stream.
Yeah, I didn't even get up that early, thanks.
And as such, last year we were going to go to there's big Eurovision parties here in bars, and we were going to go to one. And because Australia came so close to winning and didn't win, not just because we didn't win, but just because we came so close, we came second, Roger said, I don't think I can stand to go because everyone's going to be really, really hopeful and I won't be able to keep a hopeful face on. And people are going to know then. And I'll spoil it.
He could have just gone into the bar with an Australia came second T-shirt, a silver medal around his neck or something.
Surprise!
Spoilers.
But yeah, that's how I know so much about Eurovision. 10 years ago, before I met him, I knew it existed, but I'd never watched it.
So that's the big reveal, isn't it? The big end of episode 3 reveal is that, in fact...
That this is actually the peace conference that we haven't even talked about at all.
Yeah. It's been a throwaway line early on, which is the kind of thing that would infuriate Hercule Poirot.
Yes, yeah. So we had terrorists attacking what we thought was the peace conference on Achilles 4, but we find out that was merely a diversion, and the Doctor has somehow known all along.
Well, he didn't know for certain. Remember, Mel pries it out of him that he didn't know for certain until right now when Mel brutally attacks the adjudicator. But
oh, that's right. He tries to pretend that he's known about it for a long time, but then has to admit to Mel that it was Angvia who gets beaten on the head by someone. Is deliriously saying all this political stuff.
Yeah, that made him finally realize what's going on here. I actually like this cliffhanger.
That delegates are
psychically imprinted on the people competing in the song competition, and they're having a telepathic peace conference.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a back channel. Yeah. Like a little chat room that it's happening in telepathically.
It's actually kind of really annoyed me because the way the Doctor initially figured out later on is he's revealed that part of the reason how he figured this out was through a lot of things that are visual that you wouldn't have known if you were listening to the story.
Yeah. The same with Helena. So when Eleanor, we find out that she's a fake, he narrates this sort of occasion where Mel accidentally called the Doctor Doctor, and the Doctor responded, but Eleanor didn't look up.
Yep.
And that thing where Eleanor says that Angvian physiology is different from human physiology, whereas we all know that it isn't. Like neither of those things were information available to any of us in the audience. And I think that's deliberate because I think that, that idea...
I'm going to solve it, but you can't solve it, right? Something like that.
Yeah. The audience at home have to be able to solve the mystery as well.
Yeah, there is a Hercule Poirot story which starts with him and Hastings going to the theatre to watch a mystery, and during intermission, Poirot writes down who he thinks is the murderer on a piece of paper, folds it up and hands it to Hastings and says, "Check this at the end."
Does he get it wrong?
He gets it wrong
because they don't give you all the information, and that's why Poirot was so annoyed.
Exactly, and I think it's a conscious thing as well.
Yeah,
and it's something that Gareth Roberts will do again in his writing. He consciously undermines tropes, if you like.
Right.
Not necessarily to poke fun at the trope, but actually to poke fun at the audience. Like,
just to annoy you.
Yeah, just to annoy you and say, "You're not meant to be trusting me. I'm a writer."
The hubris of that man.
And they miss an obvious joke, in my opinion, which would be someone saying, "Oh, well, that explains why no one can sing." And there's another obvious joke they missed, but that's at the end, so I'll come back to that.
Well, so I actually really like the cliffhanger to episode 3 because I think it's one of the most unique cliffhangers we've gotten so far in that
nobody's going to die.
Yeah, it's not that the Doctor and his companion are in peril, it's that the Doctor's revealing that everything we know about the entire story is wrong, and also the companion is the one who's almost killed someone.
Well, now that we're done with the classic series, I don't want to say I think. I hope we're beyond the Doctor's going to die cliffhanger because it's never good.
No, and not beyond that.
Oh.
Yeah, no, there's more of those to come. But they're usually a bit better because we don't have quite that many of them every year. So
that's
they're
true.
Usually... But I really, really like cliffhangers where we discover something new. And that was one of the things that we liked about Enemy of the World and our recent watching. That's almost never someone in peril, is it? It's something interesting is about to happen.
One of my favourite ones from the classic series is Horror of Fang Rock, I think 3, when the Doctor realises that he hasn't locked the route out, he's locked it in.
Yeah, so you get a great dramatic line reading from Tom and get to go out.
But unfortunately, where he unfortunately says chameleon instead of chameleon, judging by apparently the mood on set, I think Paddy Russell just kind of went, "You know what? Let them through. He's already punched a wall." I don't know if I have never heard of Tom Baker being violent. Disclaimer.
He does swear that clip of him dropping the F-bomb.
Horrible and drunk.
That wasn't for Doctor Who, though.
No, there was the one, the outtake where K9 was like, "I don't know," and he's like, "You never beep and know anything, do you, stupid dog?"
Yeah.
Yes,
just wait till you read Romance of Crime. Okay,
oh boy! So episode 4, they just basically immediately resolve every. Well, so the Doctor locks everybody in the room.
Story thing in a couple minutes.
The Doctor locks everyone in the room and then basically reveals everyone's deepest, darkest secret, and then reveals who the murderer is. He's to ruin everyone's life first.
See, I love that though, because this Doctor on television becomes a master manipulator.
Mm-hmm.
And that scene kind of bridges the two concepts from the malapropisms through to, no, I see right through all of you.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't think Sylvester's really playing it like that. I think on this he's not really anything like Sylvester on television. We've seen him at conventions, and he just goes out of his way to be big and silly and things.
Yeah.
And there'll be times where there'll be a panel, and he'll just sort of push the person running the panel to one side, grab the microphone and wander out into the audience and just be hilarious. And this is him, following that instinct. He plays it really sort of big and broad and silly. And I think he's really good at that.
Yeah.
So he's pretty entertaining.
I have heard this from several sources who shall remain nameless. And it's a long time ago, so it doesn't include Paul McGann. But I have heard that sort of when it comes to Big Finish, Peter Davison will get a script and read it through once and then come in and record it.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Baker will get a script, read it again and make notes.
Write a background essay.
Come in and record it. Sylvester McCoy will get a script.
Lose it, turn up to the studio without it.
Turn up to the studio, open the envelope it came in, and then record it. I've heard from several sources that Syl doesn't usually read the script before he goes into the booth. And it only really affects the very early ones, but I gather, after maybe about the fourth or fifth one, they started giving him a bit more direction, which apparently he was very receptive to, but he's just the kind of actor who gives an instinctual performance, but then doesn't mind if someone says, oh, no, can you do that one as angry? Oh, angry! Okay, yes. No, he can't. But bless him. I thing is, I love Syl, but I actually don't have a problem with his angry performance, but I look at him being angry and I think, you're right, no one in the world does anger like that.
No.
It's like, no one in the world does anger like William Shatner.
Well, no one does anything like William Shatner, so...
No, that's true. No one does Twitter like William Shatner. Maybe Adam Baldwin.
Yeah. Shatner's been crazy on Twitter lately. Picking fights, blocking people.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose the consolation is that, crazy octogenarian Shatner at least isn't running the country.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Might be better. Anyway.
Actually, yeah, I'd prefer that. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Well, I mean, even if he's not playing it intentionally, I do agree with Brendan. I do think it kind of bridges the gap between Series 24, more humorous Seventh Doctor, and Series 25 and 26, which is the more serious-ish Seventh Doctor.
Yeah.
Which even we noticed when we were watching. So,
Kian, you liked Season 24, Sylvester, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I liked all of his. I liked all three of his seasons, but yeah, 24, sure.
I'm a big fan of 24, and a lot of people give it a lot of stick. Todd hates it, but he's very upset about Colin being sacked, so there's that. But there is something really fun about it, and I think it's no coincidence that Gareth writes this for Sylvester and Mel, for Sylvester and Bonnie, because I think that Season 24 has that sort of Season 17 sensibility where it's being fun and clever and trying to branch out and do new things. And I don't know that it totally works, but I love it to death. And so I think Sylvester and Bonnie together are really good.
Yeah, and it's a very different dynamic than her and Colin together.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys listening to any Colin and Bonnie audios as part of this?
Just nod so that the audience at home, you're not spoiling
the one I chose is I chose The Nightmare Fair, which we're listening to next week, so we're going to mention that at the end of the episode anyway, which is Colin and Perry.
I don't remember. I don't even remember what I chose.
Okay. If you get the chance in your leisure time, then I do recommend listening to some Colin and Bonnie ones. And it's amazing. Bonnie plays it differently with each character, as you would in real life, dealing with different people. And yeah, but at this point, when they were getting Bonnie in, it was a real effort to get her in because she was living in France.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, until about 4 or 5 years ago when she moved back to the UK. She was living in France. She was doing lots of theatre because, professionally trained singer and dancer. But, yeah, so to try and fit Bonnie in, that's why until about 2013, I think, there's only 10 plays dedicated with Bonnie plus the odd special here or there, 5 with Colin and 5 with Sylv. And since she's moved back to the UK, she's doing EastEnders, she can easily pop in and do them. Mm-hmm. There's a trilogy which I think is coming up soon for release, which I'm very interested in. Now, is this spoilery if I say this? Or do you not mind hearing about Big Finish casting?
I think you're talking about the one with Mel and Ace, right?
Mel and Ace, and apparently set after season 25, so it's before it gets really dark and Mel comes back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I actually quite like Mel and Ace in Dragonfire.
Yeah, I think
that's one of the things Dylan and I liked. We were like, we want Dr. Mel, Ace, and Glitz.
Yeah, Mel, Ace, and Glitz.
Well, maybe not Glitz. But
Glitz could be like a recurring.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't be every.
Yeah, because Mel has. And it's all in the way Bonnie plays it, because it's certainly not on paper. Mel has a really big heart.
Yeah.
And she's got a really big heart in this. And the great thing about her, Mel on television has a really big heart, and it gets her into trouble. Because she has no guile about it. The Rezzies. She doesn't suspect for a moment that the Rezzies are sinister, because they make cakes, so how can they be sinister? Whereas in here, she's got a lot of heart and a lot of time for Nikki, even though he really irritates her.
Yeah.
And it's like that's a lot more of a natural character. And yeah, of course, Nikki gets his moment to shine taken away from him in this episode.
Yes, as Sylvester steps in.
Yeah, and this is another moment I think subverts it, because it's the Intergalactic Song Contest. You've got Bonnie Langford in the story. She's played Roxy Hart in Chicago for years, for God's sake. She is a professionally trained singer. So what do you do for the Intergalactic Song Contest? You get Sylvester McCoy to play the spoons.
I mean, he's brilliant on the spoons. I mean, why not?
He's brilliant on the spoons, and the dance track they have backing it is really good as well.
Well, he comes out and does the rock star thing. He's yelling about, let's get this started.
Yeah. The spoons are great on audio.
Okay, no.
But have we skipped the bit where, in fact, the show looks like it's ending?
No, that's off. That's actually no. That's just before Sylvester goes on stage, because that's when they reveal that Nikki has the bomb inside of him.
So you do the second Peladon thing where you think it's going to be over, and then you look at the timestamp, and nope, there's 15 more minutes left. Except this time it's actually enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, in fact, I think the closing credits come in, and then
Mel says, "Hold on,
this is too easy."
Yeah. I'd forgotten about that. That's really good.
And so we've got that whole thing. The Peladon thing is really right. I think that this is a fabulously updated version of the Curse of Peladon. Where you get all of these people. The Ice Warriors are in it.
Cameo at the
Ice Warrior delegates.
Nick Briggs gets the voices Monster of the Week.
There are like people from all over, the history of Doctor Who, all coming to one place. And remember that Curse of Peladon is kind of like a bit of a commentary on the EU, like the creation of the European Economic Community. So it's explicitly about Europeans coming together, and there's a murderer and or someone who pulls the plug on Arcturus at least. And we don't know who it is. So it is, I think, very definitely a sort of funny remake of that.
Mm-hmm. Going along with Mel's line about it being too easy, a lot of Logan's lines they work in the context of the actual story, but they're also kind of meta commentary, because a lot of the things he says apply not only to the things happening on stage, but the thing that just happened to the Doctor immediately before Logan says his line.
Yes.
Which I thought was hilarious.
I really like when Strindberg takes over the commentary, and he's really bad at it initially, and then he kind of gets into it. I think that's really charming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
and that's quite a Star Trek thing as well, and especially Deep Space Nine, because it was set on a space station. there would often be B-plots about characters having to do things that aren't in their job description. And they start off really crap and end up really good. I can't remember the episode, but there's one particular episode where Nog, the young Ferengi, hears that engineering needs a certain supply, and he just sets off this whole bartering chain for it.
Oh, gosh,
I think I remember that one. Yeah.
And, you know, throughout the whole thing, the concept is how uncomfortable O'Brien is with all this, but then comes to realize this brilliant Rube Goldberg machine thing is happening to get him what he wants. Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned earlier the episode of, I don't remember what it was now, about them going through the Black Star or whatever, and I just remembered now that they mentioned that the device or whatever inside of Nikki is like a Black Star bomb or something, so that's probably also another direct call-out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be.
I mean, that Space 1999 episode is even called Black Sun. You know, they weren't subtle about the naming at all. I mean, Space 1999 was an attempt to make a Star Trek style series, but with the
Doctor Who budget.
No, it actually had a massive budget. It was all done on film.
Okay.
It's got it's got Pincho from Marco Polo. It's got Salamar from Planet of Evil. So they're two of the regulars. But no, it's made with a kind of 2001: A Space Odyssey. 2001: A Space Odyssey sensibility, but without really any of the intelligence behind it.
I think
it does have intelligence, but instead of being, oh yes, that's thought-provoking, it makes you say, what the hell are you thinking? I'm making it sound like it's all terrible. They made 48 episodes. I'd say there's 20 really good ones.
It all goes horribly downhill in the second season, which is when Helena starts to do her monologues introducing the episode.
And not only that, right? The episodes, as you watch them on DVD or Blu-ray or what have you, are presented in production order. But her day count after she's left Earth, like we're literally talking, one episode will be 533 days since we left Earth orbit.
Yeah.
The next one will be 2,074 days since we left Earth orbit. The week after that will be 800 days since we left Earth orbit. And, you know, you wouldn't mind so much, except a character gets introduced at the beginning of the second series, played by Countess Scarlione. And the next 3 episodes are all set before she's arrived, but she's still there.
Oh my goodness!
No, they don't care.
She replaces the Fassbinder analog character because he took one look at the Series 2 scripts and said, "Nah, I'm out." And they pretty much get rid of half the cast between seasons. Like the American producer comes in and says, "Nah, he's boring. He's boring. I mean, he's right. He's absolutely right. The characters they get rid of are incredibly boring." But to top it all off, they never even refer to those characters again.
Yeah, it's a really depressing watch, but it's by the end, I'm afraid.
Except for the Professor Fassbinder character, they did have written into the script a line of, "I wish Victor was here," and someone else responds, "There's one lousy spacesuit with a leak on the base, and it had to be Victor's."
Oh, really? I thought it would have been him catching the Algolian space flu or something like that. A lot of diseases on Dark Star 8, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder if is that an implication that maybe Eleanor is spreading STDs?
No. I actually think it is. You know. Imagine what it would be like, right? If your job, like your job was on Deep Space Nine, but this week the entire space station was overrun by tribbles, or everyone had been transported to another planet in the distant past, or everyone had this sort of terrible disease, or Luoxana Troy's visiting and all the lifts have broken down, or do you know what I mean? Like the whole, that's not
imagine that as an actual life.
Yeah, that was your life, and so that's why Helen is always telling these sort of stupid stories of past episodes of Sky 8 or whatever it's called.
That's true. Actually, it's like I think about work at my office. It's like strange things happen occasionally, but we're talking maybe once a month.
Yeah, no, it's not like this week a quantum string hits your work.
Yeah,
suddenly, the roof all falls in or something.
It's like, no, the most exciting thing that happens at work is when Belle brings in her beautiful black Shih Tzu Pippa. And, I get no work done because I'm playing with the dog.
Well, so, okay, the end of the story, the doctor ends up winning the song competition. Twist ending, the doctor ends up winning, and he decides to leave because he doesn't want to deal with the interviews. And then we get a post-credit sequence from Helena where she reveals she spent 4 years in a penitentiary and now she's going through medical school.
Does she have a mentor that she's trying to sleep with?
Yeah. She's hoping they're going to have a very close relationship.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking with Big Finish for their penchant for spin-offs, you could easily have, Eleanor Harcourt version of Wentworth, couldn't you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Orange is the New Black,
Like the Rani's in prison and maybe, Supreme Commander Servalan is in prison and...
Who else could you have in the prison? Chancellor Flavia?
Yeah.
After she was deposed.
Miss Winters. She'd been caught up by a time scoop and put in the prison.
Well, personally, I think Big Finish should do a Sabalam Glitz spin-off. I mean...
Yeah, that'd be good. He was... That's a really fun character. I think we're sort of really reasonably positive about him in Mysterious Planet, except for his acting.
Yeah, because as time of recording, chaps, we're back tomorrow with our missing season podcast.
So a week before this will go out.
Including one that you've already mentioned that you're going to do, I think.
Yeah. We talk about the Nightmare Fair.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, if you haven't recorded that yet, don't listen to the episode that comes out tomorrow.
Yeah.
I recently wrote an essay on In the Forest of the Night for Hating to Love.
A terrible episode.
Well, the thing is, I loved it. I loved it the first time I watched it, and I thought I'm going to have a hard time writing an essay criticizing this because Hating to Love, it wasn't necessarily about kicking the episode, but it was explaining what went wrong.
Yeah.
And I watched it again because Rod hated it. I watched it again and I got really angry. Not just I didn't enjoy it. I got properly angry because this is kind of the thrust of my essay is just that, we live in a world of climate change, which is affecting our environment, and we have the power to stop it and we're not doing enough. And so Doctor Who produces a story about climate change, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And the moral of the story at the end is do nothing, the planet will protect itself.
Yeah.
And I just thought that is, for the current climate, that is morally objectionable, especially to have children saying it.
Mm-hmm.
And, because that's the thing, Doctor Who, I can look over plot holes and I can look over ridiculous ideas. Like this play, this Bang Bang Boom, is a ridiculous set of ideas with a ridiculous set of characters.
Mm-hmm.
But it still has a positive theme and atmosphere. It's still about the triumph of good over evil.
Yeah.
But if you have a story with ridiculous ideas and really questionable morals, Black Orchid, then I'm not letting go. Then,
we had fun with Black.
Yeah, that's when you have a problem. It's like
a
Doctor Who story can be crap and still be enjoyable.
Yeah, most of them
are.
Do that.
Well, it's funny you should bring up Black Orchid. Like, I'm pretty sure we had fun with Black Orchid, but I'm almost certain we did mention that the main villain's motivation was extremely questionable, on moral grounds, even though we had fun with it.
No, I really enjoyed it, but Brendan's very, very cross with it. I think episode 1 is one of Pete's best episodes.
It is lovely and light and summery. But
except for the freezing wind, obviously.
Yeah. Well, it is England. Yeah. But Bang Bang Boom, I would say I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
I'd go higher than that. Yeah. I could break my my long-standing rule about not giving things numbers out of 10 and give it a solid 8.
I think we have a similar long-standing rule.
Just for this podcast, all right? I won't be doing it on FTE.
I think for me it falls a little short in the humour department, but I think its heart's in the right place.
It is it's a Christmas special, isn't it? It's supposed to be silly. It's not got anything really very definite to say, but it makes fun of just a lot of the things that we love and things that we loved at the time.
Yeah.
There's a Pet Shop Boys reference, there are Dravens, there's all sorts of things that just capture what fandom was like at the turn of the millennium.
One thing I will say is when I read the description and chose this story, I thought it was going to come out at the end that, surprise, nobody died. It was actually just
just like a play or something.
I mean, maybe not that, but I thought it was going to be. I didn't think anyone was going to die. I didn't think it was actually going to be semi.
Well, you must have been shocked at the end of part one.
It's not even serious the way they die, I guess.
Yeah,
they really ham it up.
But still, I was kind of surprised. Like, wow, they actually all did die.
Yeah, well, it's Doctor Who. There's always a kind of body count, isn't there? And think about, like, when Gareth goes on to write stories for the new series, stories that are really funny and essentially comedic, it still does the proper Doctor Who body count.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from death. And he doesn't shy away from jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing about Doctor Who, is that I don't think it's ever actually shied away from showing people die on screen. It just kind of brushes them aside, though, and runs by it really quickly so you don't have to notice if you don't want to. But on second thought, you're like, wait a minute, did that guy just die?
Yeah, well, like, it's absolutely no surprise that you guys came up with that body count. It is a really striking feature of the show.
Every other week when the Seventh Doctor just decides to kill off another race.
Yeah, what do you do? What do you do when Skaro explodes at the end of Remembrance? So that will be 5,650,481.
Hashtag not all Thals.
Not all Thals. No, the Thals are on holiday that week. The Doctor knew that. Well, they just got a ticket in the lottery.
Actually,
they'd all gone to Mallorca.
When he and Ace wander off screen away from the funeral at the end, the credits come in just before he says, "Oh, bugger, I've got to go pick up the Thals." Everybody in! Everybody in! Bring the race back!
I was just bringing up our death count because we're still trying to keep track of everybody who dies on screen. I think at best estimate we're at 1,856 people died on screen from between Unearthly Child and the TV movie. Plus
letters, right? We keep letters when we can't count it.
So like
deaths.
The destruction of Skaro, that would just be a letter.
Yeah.
So for letters, I think we're up to BV, I think.
Oh, Jesus.
Can't even say Metula Orionsis.
That's it.
I have often wondered why they didn't continue doing more Christmas specials, because, you had the one Doctor in the year before this, and then you had this. And I think I may have answered my own question earlier. When I kind of say it's 6 out of 10, if I look at it objectively, I kind of go, there's not much I can actually fault aside from the fact that it's not the one Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Clayton Hickman, Gareth Roberts, Gary Russell, Jason Hay-Ellery are probably more aware of the value of the work than I. Right. I think they probably had the same feeling of, this is still good, but we can't maintain this year on year without it just becoming a parody of itself. And that's the danger of parody.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I reckon they probably went, you know what, we got 2 pretty good ones. Let's just do that. And
they don't do out-and-out comedy really generally, do they? But
no,
they always...
They occasionally do quite a comedic one. So there's another Sylvester one which is quite comedic called The Dark Husband. But again, that's not done as an out-and-out comedy like this one is. It's just a rather amusing story with a rather touching ending as well. And I think after this they more sort of just... If they want to do a comedic story, they just add in more comedy rather than saying this is a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the other one I can kind of think where, at the very least, the first episode is very much played for laughs is The Wrong Doctors, which I won't say anything more about that because there's a rather interesting concept there.
I'd like to see them do one with the Fifth Doctor, though, because, one Doctor is Sixth Doctor, and this is Seventh Doctor, and I'd like to see what they could do with, like Pete and Nyssa and Tegan and Turlo, for example, if they could pull something out for that.
I just want them to evoke the Romans in something.
Yeah, I love the Romans. It is really good, isn't it?
I'm just thinking about those Tegan Turlow Nissa plays. I've heard, I think, 12 of the 15, and I'm just trying to think if any of them are particularly comedic, and I don't think any of them are. Mm-hmm. I think the closest one would come with Lady of Mercia. Actually, if you want to hear a comedic Fifth Doctor one, I would recommend The Kingmaker.
Okay.
Which is by Nev Fountain. So it's the Fifth Doctor and Perry, and as well as being comedic, it's got some more of the sort of parodic fourth wall breaking elements in it as well.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be my recommendation if you want to hear a Fifth Doctor comedy. But I think that's the closest he kind of comes.
Okay. Cool.
I think we both picked really dark stories for the Fifth Doctor, to be honest.
I mean, that's the other thing I thought. Okay, maybe they haven't done another one because Peter Davison, compared to the other two Doctors, isn't really very funny. And then, a couple of years ago, I'd seen him doing comedy.
He did lots of sitcoms as part of his career.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, in his sitcoms, I always thought, he's probably the straight man. But then you see his comedy, and he just has this wonderful sort of Cary Grant, Jimmy Stewart kind of bemused quality when he does comedy. And it's very different to when Colin and Sylve do comedy, because Sylve is, and I'm not saying this in a pejorative sense, he is a clown. He is a trained clown. Colin, of course, is a great theatrical, almost Shakespearean style actor, so does that kind of comedy. Pete's comedy, and maybe this is why it doesn't work for audio so much, Pete's comedy is kind of all in his face and his reactions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment, actually, to be honest. And we've talked vaguely at length on the show about the differences between audios and TV shows, and how audio, it's actually sometimes difficult to convey certain things because you don't have the faces there to kind of play off when you're watching it or listening to it or whatever.
We talked a lot last week about the sort of fantastic elements that can exist in audios and also books, but maybe not in the TV show.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this is a good time to close off the episode, I suppose. I don't think there's anything else we want to talk about. Unless you have anything key on.
I don't have anything to add.
Nathan,
as usual.
Brendan.
What?
If I were to recommend one more Sylve and Bonnie audio,
sure.
I would recommend Red. It's very different to anything they did together on screen and anything else they've done for Big Finish.
Okay.
And full disclosure, it's also written by a friend of mine, Australian writer Stuart Sheargold.
Well, that's a name.
I went into it kind of vaguely knowing what it was about, and it just really surprised me. And it's also a kind of story that Doctor Who in general doesn't do much of.
Mm-hmm.
And Sylve and Bonnie both really get some good stuff to sink their teeth into. So.
Okay, cool.
Red.
Yeah.
That's Brendan's pick of the week.
That's Brendan's pick of the week. I think it's a post-50 story, so it probably isn't $3.
We can scrap together some funds.
Wait for a
Save up. Go with ours.
For college students. Okay, what?
Yeah, so I don't know if you want to, I guess, just plug yourself where we can find you on everything ever.
Oh.
Okay.
No, I'm going to get Brendan to do it because he can do it on Automatic Pilot. I mean, we're obviously on flightthroughentirety.sexy, an FTE podcast on Twitter, and you can also find us on Facebook and in the Apple Podcast directory and on Google Play under the heading Flight Through Entirety. But I've really had no practice saying anything so I think I should leave Brendan to do it.
Well, in that case, I'll just say you can also find us over on bondfinger.com, as well as Bondfingercast on Twitter and Bondfinger on Facebook, iTunes, and Google Play. Bondfinger also has a secret web address, which you'll only know about if you listen to our commentary of The Living Daylights. And even then, we don't say exactly which word it is, but I think you'll know when you hear it. Nathan invents a word, and that is now...
Oh, bugger, I'm going to have to listen to it again.
Now links to our website.
You guys are just buying up domains left, right, and centre, aren't you?
I'm crazy. I'll do it while we're recording.
Yeah,
I've got a problem actually.
Because right now I'm going to say something, and I guarantee you by the time we sign off, Nathan will have bought it. I'm going to say flightthrough-tiresome.com.
Oh, why don't I have that?
That's a throwback.
I gotta get that before the people who invented it.
Well,
what have I done? Okay,
Copyright, trust your doctor.
That was ages ago, wasn't it? That was like back when you guys were in the Fourth Doctor when we made that joke. Because I remember you changed your logo for 1 week.
Yeah, I'm actually going to get a t-shirt of that printed. That's the plan.
Very soon, I'm going to have to draw the Flight Through Entirety Sylvester McCoy logo,
yes,
and I may go insane.
I'm very excited to see how you're going to pull that one off.
I've done a sketch. I spent a few hours on that column logo, and I'm very, very proud of it because it was just me studying screen grabs for ages, looking at, my God, that thing has like 7 different glows on it.
I mean, it looks very accurate. So
yeah, I'm super happy with that one.
Well, we just buying Flight Through Tiresome.
I told you he was going to do it.
Well, we only have one domain, and that's decorativevegetable.com.
Which is fantastic. We like the first time Nathan told me about that web address, I was incredibly jealous.
It's hard to type though, so
because it has a VEVE.
Yeah, so I kind of see it as a mistake, but it's still fun. So.
Yeah, it's fun. And we nicked it from a Doctor Who related thing, so we nicked it from Time Crash if you didn't know already. So yeah. So you can email us.
They know.
Well, I don't know if they know or not.
No, we know.
You can email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, anger, rants, love letters, your thoughts on, I guess, Bang Bang a Boom. I almost said Boom Bang a Bang.
That too.
Yes, your thoughts on the Lulu song. We want them in your inbox. Surprisingly, no one sent us any emails telling us how to get the Blu-ray menu for the 8th Doctor movie to work.
Because we still can't.
Because we still can't, but anyway. You can find us...
It just doesn't work.
Yeah, no, so we put the disc in. The Blu-ray.
Yeah, the Blu-ray.
We put the disc in. It loads up and it's like, alright, push enter if you want the audio commentary or whatever. So push enter, and then it proceeds past that screen to the main menu, and then... No buttons you push does anything on the main menu.
It doesn't do anything.
Oh, okay. When you've tried to load it, you know how it says for audio navigation, press enter? Mm-hmm. Just let that play. Don't press enter.
Huh.
Okay.
And you should be okay. Because is it the UK edition you've got?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, because what it is, over there, they have this system whereby... the audio description is for vision impaired people who may not necessarily be able to see the menu.
Yeah, exactly.
So what usually happens is it'll go to the menu and it will actually be reading the things out to you and saying...
That's what it was doing, yep.
Okay.
It's also the worst designed menu
it's the worst
history,
menu
by the way.
So just that audio navigation screen, that will just play for a few seconds and then go away. So just don't press enter and you should be okay and you should be able to watch it.
Oh my God.
Well, we've watched it.
Yeah, we watched it already.
Yeah.
Totally legitimate version.
Yeah. I mean, God, you don't need to watch it again.
Ever.
No, I watch it how Nathan suggested, from another room entirely with the sound off.
Looking at a picture of Paul McGann as he is today, rather than that horrible wig.
I didn't know it was a wig.
This is the tangent that I'll probably cut out, but when I asked that question on Twitter, how should I watch the TV movie, I only got responses from Doctor Who podcasts, and every single one was different. Because
but they're all negative.
They all were negative.
Negative.
So the Doctor Who show told me to watch it once, and then I may only want to revisit certain scenes.
Which is true, I only want to visit the McCoy
I think
section.
42 to Doomsday told me to watch like a bootleg video edit version.
Which is near what we did. What?
And then Brendan told me to just watch the whole thing just straight up. So I think Brendan was the only one who got it correct. So you win.
Hooray!
You win nothing.
Yeah, well, I think I said to you at the time as well, I actually watched it twice.
Yeah,
as soon as it had been broadcast.
Right, oh yeah, you were the one who made the joke about waiting for your parents to go to bed and then watch it when they're asleep and pretend Doctor Who's been off air for 7 years.
Yeah, because they wanted to watch the Addams Family movie, which was on at the same time, which, to be fair, good movie.
It's good, yeah.
But, yeah, for me, it was also, I was 12, hadn't had any new Doctor Who in 6 years, And to me, it was incredibly exciting. And the weird thing is, 12-year-old Doctor Who purist me, the kissing didn't bother me that much. I just kind of went, oh, okay, that's weird. I think also I was primed by, at the time, there was a Sydney Doctor Who fan club which produced a fanzine called Time Brains 2013, based on Dimensions in Time. There was a period where someone had transcribed the entirety of Dimensions in Time, shrunk it down to size 6 font so it fitted on one A4 page, and that ran in every single issue for about 2 years. But the news that was coming out of the production for the telemovie was insane. There was going to, at one point, the TARDIS was going to talk, and then there was going to be a set of lips on the TARDIS console that moved while it was talking.
Well, that would be
the Master was going to possess a snake which would bite the Doctor, triggering his regeneration. The Doctor has an ex-girlfriend whom nobody can replace.
I think the Doctor and the Master were brothers.
Barusa
was the Doctor's father.
Barusa was their father, Lord President. The Doctor's half-brother, the Master,
we read about that.
Assassinated him and deposed him, and that's why the Doctor's on the run. And the Master makes an alliance with the Daleks, and Davros can walk, and dogs and cats are living together.
That's terrible.
There's actually a really good website which details everything that is known about. I think there were, in the end, 3 versions of the American series Bible.
Yeah.
And as it was, when the telemovie was produced, all that stuff about the Master and Barusa and Ulysses, the Doctor's father, having taken a wife from Earth, had all been dropped. But there's some interesting ideas in there, and there's a lot of terrible, terrible things in there.
We've kept the same logo for 3 years now. Because we had that other one for about 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
And then you took it to your design teacher and was like, this is terrible, so we did the entire thing.
I like your logo.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
we created it in 5 minutes.
But I think it's charming.
Quaint.
It's quaint.
No, it's a good logo because it can be seen from any size. It's clear to see what it is. I see podcasts that have people's faces in their artwork, and I'm just thinking, that's really distracting. I don't know what I'm looking at.
It's kind of, it's our own logo, so I shouldn't be saying this, but the best praise I can give it, it's kind of Apple Future, which, I don't know, maybe.
Well, I think we both realize that neither of us has artistic
sense.
ability or design sense.
Hey, kiss, keep it simple.
We almost called the podcast Yesterday's Walrus, and we were
I forgot about that. That was based on the other thing that we almost called Cosmic Gazelle or something. I think.
I was overruled, but I wanted to call Bondfinger Roger Moore's judo.
Well, I can see why you'd be overruled.
I don't know that iTunes would have.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to stop saying iTunes, by the way.
Do we?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Apple Podcasts now.
Apple Podcasts.
I got that email.
Okay. They've rebranded.
Because everyone hates iTunes.
I totally just said iTunes not 5 minutes ago.
So I'm guessing they haven't actually fixed anything.
No.
They've just changed the name.
Yeah. Yep.
They've given Malibu Stacy a new hat.
A new hat.
Yeah.
That's what Apple always does.
Tomorrow.
Slap a new name on it and pretend it's new.
Yeah.
I say this as the person who bought both Missy figures because one of them had a hat, and 4 Peter Capaldi figures because they had different shirts.
Yeah, well, Peter Capaldi's costume is fantastic, so, I'm not going to fault you for that.
Yeah. Did you like the pilot? Did you enjoy the pilot?
I enjoyed the pilot. Keon obviously hasn't seen it, but I enjoyed the pilot.
Oh God, you're being that good. You're
Yep.
Oh, wow. You that takes a lot of restraint. Well done, you.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not going to watch any good Doctor Who until I see the massacre.
Let's watch The Massacre again. We should just do I think Nathan should just join us for a podcast where we spend 2 hours just ripping on The Massacre.
If they find The Massacre, please, Nathan, join us and watch it, please.
There's a what's that bad movie podcast where they just choose one bad movie?
The Worst Idea in the World.
The Worst Idea in the World, where it's a bad movie and they just watch it every week for a year and podcast about it.
I've heard about this.
Yes, so have I.
We could do that for The Massacre.
I think this year they're doing Grown Ups 2.
Ooh, God.
That's right. They specifically do sequels. So they do, like, the first one they did was a sequel. So the second one they did was Sex in the City 2.
Is
and
Will
now they're
Ferrell
doing
in
Grown Ups
2?
2.
Is Will Ferrell in 2? Or is it just another entirely different thing?
I don't know. If you want to find us, you can find us at you can find us on YouTube. There's actually like a solid 5 people who watch on YouTube every week, which is surprising.
Thank you.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, and you can find us on Google Play, all at Trust Your Doctor. Leave a rating if you like the show, please.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at UID Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And next week we're listening to The Nightmare Fair.
My choice.
But
Sixth Doctor.
Until then, the end.